It's Don here from the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out another one of our videos. Now today, in this video, I'm going to be having my first attempt to actually lube a switch. And when I say a switch, I will literally just be lubing one switch. Why am I doing that? Only because, well, it can be quite a long, extensive process. I don't want to do a whole pile of them. I don't have a lot of time at the moment because I'm taking use of a little bit of in-between time as my wife is putting our daughter to bed. And also because I'm trying to do this in one take, so I would prefer to keep it nice and short, simple, to reduce the amount of mistakes that I might be potentially making while having this lubing attempt. Of course, if I don't do it very well, then you can all see this and have a good time regardless. So I am a lube noob. I've never done it before. I've read guides and I've seen other people do it, so let's go and have a crack at it. Now, first of all, I'm going to switch over the background screen to my desktop camera just to explain the view that you're going to see later on, as well as show you some of the bits and pieces that I've got going on. So let's switch off the background, go onto the desktop. So this is pretty standard what you normally see my desk is like, but what I've done is I've had my headset cam and I've actually put it onto my quad hands so that it's being held over my work platform. What I have in front of me, which is some thin lube in a vial here, and there's some thick lube. Now I'm not going to do anything with the thick today at all. It's just going to be with the thin stuff. It's quite watery. Looks like just, you know, very clear oil. That was courtesy of Tommy, one of our local boys, who hooked me up with some. What I've got down here is I've got some switch opening tools from the Mechanical Keyboard website. Thankfully, I didn't have to pay a lot of shipping for it because I had a bunch of other things shipped with it. What I've got is also just some very simple cosmetic sort of makeup applicators, nice and cheap, but I think these should work really well for what I need it to do. And what I've also got underneath here is I've got one of my leftover switch mod plates, as well as just a Gateron Brown as my test switch to lube, sorry. So the other thing that I've also got here is just to the side is I've just got some gloves, because obviously you don't want to get lube and whatnot all over your hands if you can avoid it. I've got some tissue paper over here to clean up in case I make a bit of a mess. And yeah, so I'm going to switch over cameras so you can see what's happening nice and close, and hopefully it's going to go well. If it doesn't go well, life must go on, because I am recording this as a one-shot. So there's not really any post-processing and whatnot that's going to happen either. So let's switch off the desk and go to the lower cam. So there you go. So this is a bit more of a close-up. Hopefully that will come kind of into focus. There you go. And this is the my version of a switch mod plate, and it is modular. So that is what I designed a very long time ago, and I did a whole bunch of casts. It was originally 3D printed, and then I resin cast it just for a bit of fun and color, and it actually made it more affordable than trying to 3D print each piece by piece. How this works, and you can see with the applicator as my pointing tool, is your switch will sit in here. Once you open the switch top, the stem will go into there with a hole for the middle of the stem, then the spring will sit up there, and then the top cover will sit there. You've got a bit of a tray if you want to put springs or any light bits, and then up here is meant to be where the lube tube would normally sit. Now I've got the room light, which is kind of that way, but if I sort of sit in front of it, it is actually going to get in the way of the light. So now I'm moving it, but obviously because the camera is fixed with the plate, it's not so visible for you except for the shaking. So the first thing that we want to do, I don't need to put on the gloves for it, is I'm just going to take the switch top removal tool, the switch opening tool, and it's just going to go into the little side pins there. We put them together and I give them a bit of a squeeze together, and you can see it's kind of going to flex it a little bit, and hopefully, in theory, that means the top should lift off, which it does. There you go. So now I'm not actually looking really close because you can obviously see me on the camera there, but there's the spring and then there's the top. So I can drop the stem down and then I can put my my top piece into there. That's the breakdown of that. So I'm going to put the stem into its little slot there, and then I can take out the spring and drop that, ooh, if it doesn't stick to my fingers, into the little hole I made for it. So now let's see if the camera's going to come back into focus. No. You're gonna play nice? There we go. So that's essentially how I designed my switch mod station to work. So if you were lubing, as well as swapping out springs and things like that, or if you want to put some stickers on it or slip socketing, whatever, that was originally the intent. Now I don't have any more of these, but if anyone is interested in it, then at this point in time, you know, might be able to dig up the STLs. We'll see how that goes. So at this point, I'm actually going to put on some gloves because we're going to get right down into some basic lubing of this brown switch. Now, I have played around with the brown switch quite a bit, this one in particular, so I have an idea of what it feels like. So hopefully I'll be able to distinguish what it feels like after I've gone and lubricated it as well. So there's our customary glove snap. And let's bust open this bag, shall we? So we're going to take out this clear lube. The bag, the tube itself has got a bit of lube around it. So you can see it's kind of quite watery there. If I hold it underneath, I don't know if the camera's not really going to show it very well. But what's he done to it? He's taped it. This is actually the first time I've taken it out of the packet, so I was kind of being a little bit apprehensive, I guess. He's taped it. He's taped it shut. Okay, so let's find the edge of that tape, and let's peel it. Alright, so peel that off. Give that another bit of a wipe down. Obviously I can't feel how sort of slimy it is because I've got the gloves on. Now let's see if it will fit in my slot. No, it doesn't fit. It's too big. Now I had originally asked different people about the size of dimension for that hole based upon their tubes of lube that they got from other people, and that obviously is a different size tube to what Tommy has used in dispensing this. So I don't think this is going to show up very well because it's too close, but I'm just going to give that a very light dip in it, and then because it's just a synthetic, I should be able to just squeeze out any excess, and then I'll just cap that back on firmly, and I think that should be more than enough. Now you can't see it on this, but there is definitely some in here, as you just seen me sort of dip it in. Before we get too much further into it also, we should probably talk about the actual points that are going to be lubricated on the switch. And if I don't drop it, what? I don't know if it's going to show very well because I'm not very practiced with this, and I don't actually know if I have any tweezers with me. Not very prepared with that, am I? So I'm going to just lay that kind of down. It's not going to focus well, is it? There we go. Alright. Maybe that didn't work so well. That might be a better angle. Come on, come back into focus. Focus, you bastard. Oh, come on. Come on. Probably because the lighting's not fantastic. With the room light. You managed to do it before. You don't want to play now. Oh, there we go. Alright. So, there we go. So the points of contact that really cause the friction on your switch and that sort of rubbing sensation, that gritty sensation, that sandiness is, from what I've been told, from what I've read, is the side of the stem. And the side of the stem that I'm talking about is this bit right here that's sticking up, that flat, thin section, and it sits on the inside of the actual switch where these sort of C-shaped bits are there. Now, let's see if I can get a better pointer. I'm just going to use a pen as a pointer. So there's a switch bit there, that channel there, and the corresponding side over there. That's where the side bit there actually runs in and out that channel. That's what holds the stem in place, and that's what moves up and down. So on both sides, you generally want to lube that particular contact surface. And I've also read that some people will lube the top of the spring that is in contact with the stem, because it will actually rub against the inside of the stem. Now, I don't know how true that's going to be or not, but all I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick up that stem because it's easier than trying to do it flat. It's really hard to do with gloves. I don't know if that's going to show up very well. Okay, so there we go. And I'm just going to give that a wipe. I don't think the camera is picking up the fact that I've actually lubed it, but it's glistening. You're just going to have to trust me. Yeah, you can kind of see it's got a bit of reflection happening there. I don't think this camera at this close distance is focusing terribly well. But on with the show it must go. So I'm just going to give that a wipe, and then I'm going to turn it over. And then I'm going to give it a wipe on the other side. So it's quite thin, and because this is a spongy tip, I think it works quite well because any excess is just naturally soaked back up into that sponge tip. And then, of course, to finish it off, if I was going to do things the way that people recommend it, is I would actually also sort of get my spring and then just run it over the top to lube that. Now, I might be doing this completely wrong, but you know what? This is the best that I'm going to do because that's what I've read and I've seen. So now it's just a matter of reassembly. So let's just brace that over here on the side. I'm going to put my lubed spring back on top of that center stem. Then I'm going to pick up my switch. Oh, my stem, sorry, not my switch. My stem. This is going disastrously. And make sure that I have the right orientation. I'm going to put it on top of the spring. So it sits like that, and the prongs are in the right orientation. I'm going to get my cover, my switch top housing, drop it over the top, and hopefully, if I do this right, come on, snaps in, and there you go. I don't know if that's going to focus or not. Come on, there we go. It's in focus. Oh. Yes, right. And then the switch is reassembled. Now, I just gave it a cursory press then, and you really can feel the difference. Now, I didn't doubt that I would feel a difference. I think my doubt was really more about how much of a difference I was going to experience with this. It's also noticeably quieter. Now, I don't think the microphone's picking it up at all, and it shouldn't because it's a tactile, but there is definitely a glide to it now that it didn't have before, and I think the tactility, the actual bump, is softened, and that is a little bit weird, only in the sense because the tactility is not to do with the sides of the switch, but to do with the actual angle of the arm. But I think because it's catching less on the sides, that tactile sensation, that bump over the top, is now not as pronounced because there's less friction on the stem overall. So that's really cool. Now I do actually have another Gateron Brown, which is unlubed, as part of my my switch collection platey thingy madoobie. So I'm just gonna feel that one. Yeah, definitely. Definitely a notable difference. Now, just with that very, very simple 2 swipes on the side, and 1 bit of dabbing on the spring. So there you go. That's 15 minutes to talk my way through, set it up, and do 1 switch. Naturally, if I was going to do more switches, having a larger setup, disassembling everything so that I could just swipe as I moved along and then reassemble them would probably be more efficient and easier. But that's as simple as it needs to be in order to lube your switches. So now I have 1 slightly still moist and lubricated applicator, but Tommy was kind enough to provide some empty vials as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that one into an empty vial because I can, just so it doesn't go anywhere too bad. I'm going to pop that back into the bag and yeah, secure that tube. Back into the Ziploc it goes. Close the Ziploc so I won't have any nasty spills. And we're done. Off with the gloves. And let's see if I can feel the difference without the gloves as well. Where's my switch plate? There we go. Yeah, there is definitely a smoothness that was not there before. And I must say, Gateron Browns already are pretty smooth, so it has made an improvement. By how much, it's very hard to quantify, but is it worthwhile the effort? Maybe. I don't know. All you can do really is give it a try. Rightio, so that concludes this video for today. Thank you, of course, for coming along and checking it out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you. And of course, until next time, happy clacking.